Hi, my name's Henry,
I'm Sarah.
I'm Dahlia.
and we're here to talk about the how the Trump administration is managing insurance coverage for contraception for women. Given that we're in the third year of the Trump administration, there have been a lot of changes to many policies that affect different groups of people, and one of the groups that are largely affected are women, and specifically the coverage of contraception for them. So first we're going to introduce the Affordable Care Act, also nicknamed Obamacare, and it was passed under the Obama administration when he was still president. The Affordable Care Act provided health insurance for millions of Americans who could not or were not qualified at the time, and it helped ensure that everybody got the basic healthcare needs, and while also ensuring that women had access to different services and resources like contraception, for example. There has currently been institutions like the University of Notre Dame and the Little Sisters of the Poor, which is a group of nuns. They have filed for religious exemption, I believe that's what it's called. And under the Trump administration, they are allowed to deny birth control through their insurance plan for women. And that's big because that's a large population that's not being able to access the right resources in order for them to sort of stay safe and prevent pregnancies. The institutions have said that under the Affordable Care Act, they felt a sort of religious discrimination and that their beliefs weren't taken into thought. And by providing birth control for the women that are under their sort of sight, they are going against their own belief. We now have an obstetrician gynecologist who is going to answer questions about the coverage of birth control under the Trump administration specifically. Have you noticed any changes in the accessibility of contraception for women since Donald Trump has taken office?
Like under the Affordable Care Act under Obama, more people have access to insurance in general, even if the state Medicaid programs don't provide enough care to people that don't qualify for insurance through their employer. And so, for example, in a state like Oregon, the Oregon Health Plan does a better job of providing for more people, whereas in other states, they don't always cover as many people, so it kind of varies state to state. So when, since Trump has been in office, there have been changes, even though the Affordable Care Act hasn't been completely gotten rid of. There have been changes that have happened that have decreased access to insurance for people who are kind of in the middle, like they don't fall below the income level that lets them qualify for Medicaid, but they make enough money that they don't qualify, but then they don't get insurance through their employer. So if they live in a state where there's more support for that, then they would probably be able to access things like contraception better. As of right now, since Trump came into office, they've been trying to completely dismantle the ACA, but they haven't been able to. So fortunately, one of the things that's in the ACA says that insurance companies have to cover all contraceptive methods as a preventive care, 100%. So that hasn't been taken out yet.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I haven't seen change, which is good.
Do you think women will be able to access birth control in the future like they can under the Affordable Care Act?
I'm concerned that there will continue to be cuts to the Affordable Care Act, and especially with, I don't think that the layout of Congress is going to change a whole lot with this next election, because that's one thing that can make a bigger difference. I think that the House of Representatives might change more, but the Senate is probably still going to remain in Republican control, and that makes a big, influence on what policies go through or what's supported in terms of cooperating, with the president. I think it probably will get worse, because I think that if there continues to be Republican control in the Senate, my guess is that they'll probably try to go back and address the ACA again. And I can't imagine that they won't try to restrict the birth control thing again, because for example, so Trump has appointed, the person he appointed to head the Health and Human Services Department, that cabinet position, is someone who has a history of being, against comprehensive education and comprehensive provision of birth control and things like that. So he's made it clear that that's not something that he supports. So I think if he has the support of Congress, that there's no reason that he won't try to do it.
Yeah.
Here I have an anonymous source, a freshman in college who has used birth control and is currently still on birth control. And I just have a couple questions for her. My first question is going to be, what are your personal experiences with birth control?
I've been on birth control for about 5 years now. It's been very beneficial for me and saved me from a lot of things that could have hindered my education and where I plan to go in life.
All right, my second question is, what types of birth control have you been on?
I started on the pill, and I took that for about 6 months. And then I switched to the Implanon, which is the implant in my arm. So it just stays there for about 3 years. And I'm going to get it replaced and probably get the IUD.
All right. What do you think your personal life would be like now if it wasn't offered to you affordably?
Luckily for me, my insurance covers my birth control, so I don't have to pay for it, which is nice because college is a lot. But I think that if I wasn't able to afford it, unfortunately for some people, I think that being a teenager, I probably could have ended up pregnant, which would have been a lot harder for me to handle. I probably wouldn't be where I am today if I had a kid, so I think birth control benefited me a lot.
Thank you.
We are going to introduce the Title 10 program next, which is a federal grant that gives money to family planning services and clinics, including Planned Parenthood. Thanks to the Title X program, Planned Parenthood was able to provide women with over 1 million breast exams in 2016, as well as contraception through IUDs and pills to those who did not have insurance to afford it.
That's why I think places like Planned Parenthood are really beneficial to populations, because they can help people who want their their sex life to be anonymous from like their family, and they can also make any kind of contraception or abortion free for anyone. Instead of cutting funding to Planned Parenthood and other places like Planned Parenthood, they should be either keeping the spending they already have for it or increasing the spending.
So now we're going to introduce the Title X program, which is a program that helps fund family planning services and clinics like Planned Parenthood, which offer their services for no cost or reduced to people who do not have access to them. Planned Parenthood has been a program and clinic that many Republicans, including Donald Trump, have been against, and they've been trying to get rid of the funding for the program for years, and many conservative Americans as well has protested against the idea of abortions. But the reality is that they do so much more than abortions. They provide services to people who are planning to conceive the child, and also to women looking to prevent pregnancies. So by getting rid of the funding for this program, millions of women are going to lose this affordable service that can prevent the things that these Republicans are against. After the elections, many Democratic candidates have been elected to the new House of Representatives and also the Senate. So that may give many hope that contraception for women will be more accessible in the next few years, and that the Trump administration will be limited to what they can do to sort of cut the budget on the Title IX program or allow institutions to decline women birth control through their insurance plans. So we hope that they'll continue to fight for the right of contraception, because that should be a right that all women have.